want you to give yourselves a hand because y'all got up early this morning. You got started. Y'all look like the coffee has kicked in because mine has not. Y'all, I was like, I'm not going to be before you long, and I'm here to talk about rising above verbal abuse. I know that you may look at me and probably say, she ain't got nothing wrong with her. Her self-esteem is through the roof. People have never said anything bad about her a day in her life. Lie. You can't look at verbal abuse and know it when you see it. And so many times we get caught up in saying why somebody did this and why somebody did that, but we don't know that they may be, for lack of a better statement, taking drugs to cover up the pain. They may be stealing to cover up the pain. They may be going and doing things to cover up the pain because of what somebody has said to them. Nobody has ever said anything positive to them. Everything has always been, you too this and you too that, you too this and you too that. And I was a victim of that. And one thing, I saw this quote by Taylor Swift. Words can break someone into a million pieces, but they can also put them back together. I hope you use yours for good, because the only words you'll regret more than the ones left unsaid are the ones you use to intentionally hurt someone. I saw that and I said, bam! My God, that was amazing. And I don't even listen to Taylor Swift because I feel like I'm too old for all that teeny bopper music, because all of her music just pops. It's like all you do is feel good and yeah, you know. But that just summed up verbal abuse in a way that we never would have thought about that. And then how many of you are using your words talking about, I'm just being real. I'm just coming at them as 100. I'm just telling them like it is. Well, guess what? Sometimes it's not what you say, it's the way you say it. And that's another way that you're abusing people, because of the way you say it. Because it's one thing to say, okay, y'all know I'm a church girl. Okay, so say for instance, someone's in church and they're sitting on the front row and the skirt is too short. So, as one of the leaders in the church, they may tap me, you need to go tell this lady that they need to put a lap scarf. I don't know how many of y'all go to these kind of churches, but mine is one of them on sometimes. And so I said, y'all want me to do it? For real? Y'all sure? Let me see, did I get enough coffee this morning that I'm gonna have enough tact to say this right? Because me, I'm like, look, you need to cover that up. But because I teach high school, that's usually how I talk to kids sometimes, because sometimes you just have to come straight with them. And I said, y'all want me to be tactful this morning? Really? But it's a way that you say it. So what if I walked up to the person and said, hey, look, you in violation, you're going to cover that up. There's nobody trying to see all that. You should have wore your club clothes last night. You don't wear club clothes to church. What if I had said that? Would I have offended this person? Would I have turned them away from church? Would I have turned them away from something that they probably worked real hard to get there? Now think about the children that you're dealing with, or think about the adults that you're dealing with. What if you said it something like that? You need to get up off them drugs. Them drugs ain't doing you no good, no way. You look a hot mess. Really? But if I went to the young lady and said, excuse me, because you're sitting on the front row, your skirt is a little short, would you mind using this particular cloth to cover your knees, so that way you won't be a distraction to anything that's happening? What sounded better? The second way. Now let's go back to the kids. Baby, have you thought about doing something else? Because you are so beautiful. Wouldn't you like to take yourself to another level and look another level and start beating on a different beat? First of all, they're gonna look at you like you're corny, which is cool, but you've gotten their attention and now they're listening. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. What is verbal abuse? Verbal abuse occurs when someone uses language, either spoken or written, to cause harm to an individual. Ergo, social media bullying. They are using social media to bully people with their words. We're doing it now when we shame people online. And adults are doing it just as much as children. Let's just be honest. Now with all the sexual misconduct or the, let me see how they're saying it, Harvey, well, just go ahead and say Harvey Weinstein, how that's circulating now. Is it only those people that get abused? Everybody has a hashtag now. Hashtag me too. How about hashtag me too? So, we don't start out that way. That's me, y'all. That's me. Where did this chick go? Have you ever looked at some of your baby pictures or some of your pictures when you were younger and said, where is that child? Where is that person? Because you probably like me, I couldn't find the one I really wanted because I got one and I'm like this. And I was like, I had to call my mama, like, Mom, where is it? I got to find it. So needless to say, I'm gonna have to go look for it when I go back home. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, so yes, go Stros. So I'll be looking for that picture. But then I thought about, where did this girl go? What happened to this baby that smiling, confident? This is me in the white dress, because you can tell I was a chunky kid, and that's my little cousin. And well, mind you, we're 2 years apart, but you can't tell in this picture. And then I'm cooking. I'm doing something that's making me happy. But what happened to that girl? It is easier to build up a child than it is to repair an adult. Choose your words wisely. Which led me to one of my darkest, well, you know what, I'm gonna wait till I get there. Can we see verbal abuse? Can we see it? Do we know what it looks like? Probably not. And a lot of times when we see verbal abuse, we think men are the only ones that are dishing it out. No, women are too. Verbal abuse has no color. Verbal abuse has no gender. Verbal abuse has no age requirement. Verbal abuse is just that, verbal abuse. Because a lot of times, even in the Bible, it says your tongue is like a two-edged sword. And when you're using that two-edged sword, you can cut somebody so deep that, to me, and I don't understand why verbal abuse doesn't carry a stronger sense when people start talking about abuse. We only talk about physical abuse. We talk about being neglected, but we don't talk about the words. Because as an adult, when you really start to look at what's holding you back and holding you down, it's something that might have been said to you when you was 5. And that's hard to believe. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about, I was told this when I was 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, and oh my God, middle school and high school. We don't want to talk about that those words are setting a precedent and causing us the anguish that we're feeling as adults. And that's why it's important to build up our children in this time. Which leads me to a time that I went through something so dark. I didn't even know what was going on with me. I was like, why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing? Why am I making some of the same mistakes over and over and over and over again? Because I was trying to deal with what people were calling me and what people were saying about me. And then what they were saying were beginning to be internalized, and I was beginning to think those things that they were saying about me as to be true, which leads me to adjectives. Adjectives, what is an adjective? And then what is the noun? Person, place, or thing. So guess what? Who's the noun? We are the noun. And then those words that people have said to us and did towards us are the adjectives. Now, are we taking these adjectives in a negative way, or are we taking them to a positive way? Which led me to the book that I wrote. The book that I wrote was called Adjectives. And so many times I tell stories in this book about growing up, and I'll never forget, you saw the picture, I was a chunky cousin. So when we would go to one of my cousin's house, he would tell me, jump off the porch so I could see if the earth would rattle. You're cute, but you kind of worldwide. Your face, you pretty in the face, but the rest of you, we not sure about. How do you grow up as a child and then become an adult and still make decisions? And then you wondering why your self-esteem is so low. You'll never get married because you fat. So then the first person that says something good to you, take you out, you're like, whoo, shiggity. I done did the doggone thing. Somebody like Chunky Me. Well, Chunky Me grew up to be 365 pounds. Chunky Me started thinking about, hey, I'm just short, fat, just gonna do me, stay in the background, stay out of sight, don't care about what nobody has to say, because nobody has to see me, because I can write. I'm creative. I'm a glorified cheerleader. Whatever you got going on, I can help you take it to the next level. But on the inside, I was helping so many other people take their dreams to another level, but on the inside, I'm crumbling. On the inside, I'm dried up. Like, on the inside, I'm so black, so deteriorated. But then one night, I did write adjectives, and adjectives actually stands for something, believe it or not. I'm actually kind of smart. Y'all better watch out. Adjective stands for autonomy, dedication, justification, edification, confidence, tenacity, innovation, vivacious, endurance, and sensuous. And a lot of times people want to say, well, why did you add sensuous in the book? And you a church girl. Sure is. Saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, baptized with a mighty burning fire. And got some more fire too, baby. But we got to talk about this, and this is the problem. So many times we forget about the other things and jump right into sensuous. And we use being sensuous as a way to hide from the things that we should be working on. Because if you had endurance and tenacity, then you wouldn't be jumping all the way to sensuous. Because this is why we get clouded. Our decisions get clouded because we jump right into something that we shouldn't be jumping into. We get in relationships, whether they are friends, whether they are, let's say, partners that you want to be with, sexual partners. Sensuous means more than just sex. And so many times people think that when you say sensuous, all you're talking about is jumping in the bed. No, boo-boo. This is the problem why our children are tripping, because we're not telling them that being sensuous is somebody touching your hand the right way and you get a little giggly. Y'all acting like y'all don't know. Come on now. Y'all can give me some feedback. Y'all know I'm right. Yeah, y'all know I'm right. Talk to me. See, I like interactives. I'm one of them. Please, I like call and response. I'm old school. Call and response, call and response, call and response. Let's just do work on it. I need an amen. I promise you. Thank you. See, if I tell you, you know what, that's the problem. I didn't tell y'all let's go to church right quick. Everybody go to church. Whether it's a black church, white church, Muslim church, Christian church, everybody gonna do amen and a boom shakalaka. Whatever you got to do, let's do it. All right? Boom. Yeah, you can throw your hands up in the air, waving like you just don't care. I don't care. But let me know that you know that we got some agreement here. So, yeah, because I'm gonna be old school. Yeah, if I get an amen, I'm gonna sit down real quick. I ain't gonna be before you long. Help me. All right, so in that, developing and writing this book, it brought out some things that, I ain't gonna show y'all the old cover. The old cover is really cute because it's me. But this was the first cover. And let me tell you the story behind changing the covers of the book from this to that. And that's really gonna mess you up. But, I'll tell you this first. This was the way the book came out initially. I was so proud of this because, and never in a million years did I want to write the book. First of all, I didn't care. I just did it. I did it to prove a point, not to sell. I did it to prove to a point to myself that, hey, I can do this. Hey, I really did come up with a concept. I wrote it. It looked good. People actually liking it. And then when somebody said, ooh, that book really helped me, I was like, for real? I said, it was just me writing. And for me to tell my mama that I had went through something that I didn't tell her about. Because my mother and my aunt told me the first time they ever read a whole book through was when they read my book. That messed me up. But in this book, I had to deal with stuff and tell the truth. because I didn't want anybody to read my book and not know the truth. I had to be transparent, because in order to get over verbal abuse or any type of abuse, whoever is talking to you needs to be transparent. And you need to know that I tell everybody, don't let the pumps and the Mac fool you, because I done been through some stuff. Now I might not have really, my stuff is not like what everybody else talks about. Everybody talks about going to jail, but nobody talks about that inner jail that you put yourself in. Nobody talks about the cell that you make for yourself inside your mind and inside your body. And that's why I had to write Adjectives. And I'm going to tell you what I did, and then I'm going to tell you what my mama said. After she read it, she went completely off. I had a miscarriage at the age of 30. I didn't know what the devil I was doing. It was a product of basically date rape. Yeah, you grown, who you gonna tell? But I went through that not knowing that I was pregnant at the time. Drove myself to the hospital, had the miscarriage, drove myself home. Stayed depressed for about 3 months. Went to church every day, cried every service. Nobody knew what was going on. I was suffering in silence because I had the shame of, you such and such's daughter. How you gonna go home and tell them that? Because you know, old school was, don't you come home and embarrass me. And I'm your only daughter? That ain't happening. Number 2, I had just started my ministry. Really started out in ministry. How am I gonna sell this to somebody and I'm supposed to be this good preacher? But yet and still, I can't control myself. What do you do in that situation? Ergo, where Adjectives came in. And then after my mother read that, she called me and she went left. Why you didn't call me? Why you didn't tell me? First of all, that's why I didn't call you. That's why I didn't tell you, because I knew you was gonna freak out. Then when I started to realize, when I took heart to the scripture that your gift will make room for you, people started actually buying the book. Now that really messed me up. And my mama said, well, you know they only buying that book because they trying to find out what you was talking about. And in my mind, I'm like, I really don't care, because they can find out all day long if I wasn't. And there you have it. The coin was coming in. I was like, yes, Lord, thank you, Jesus. You have let my gift make room for me. You have let my suffering and my pain help somebody else. Even though it was helping me in a different kind of way, it was still helping them. And the other piece of this is that when I wrote this book, one of my friends said, well, who's your audience? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea. I said, you read it and you tell me. Because when I wrote it for me. When I wrote it for women I thought that were, let's say, over 30, over 40, that was going through stuff, trying to figure out why they were in this cycle of perpetual, just keep going through the same cycle. That's who I thought I wrote this book for. But believe it or not, I have a girls group called Empowered Ladies of Godiva. We're teaching them to be gorgeous, optimistic, determined, independent, victorious, and achievers. And I gave them this book as a workbook. You would not believe how many of my girls were going through this book and saying, Miss Franklin, thank you. Because not only was it a quote-unquote get straight book, but it's also a preventative book. And then I talk about in the book about how I walked around. I used to hate going to mirrors. I used to hate mirrors. I used to hate taking pictures. I did. But then at one point, still at 365 pounds, I walked in front of that mirror and I said, damn, you look good. Because when you have that damn, you look good moment, your life changes. Your life changes, because a lot of times people don't want to have that moment, but when you do, your life takes a perpetual change, because then you know that you can do it. Because then, once you know you look good, then you can like, damn, I could go write this book. And I like using that word, because sometimes you got to use some cuss words you just got to keep and use them in a different perspective. I'm just saying. It ain't one of them big juicy ones. I'm not going to use the juicy ones, but I like that one, because that one right there kind of, yeah! That's like one of them. That's bad, because it's stronger than aha, because that was more than an aha moment. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you got to look at. And so when I was developing this book, I started playing around with writing poetry. Y'all, that is so not my thing. But adjectives, which is a poem that I included in the book, it starts out tall, bald, ugly, skinny, fat, stupid, dumb, unattractive, weird, are all the words that send your life into a frenzy. You will never marry, your biological clock is about to stop ticking. As I shiver at night, hearing all the adjectives from my past, you're stupid, you're fat, you're not the one for me. Good for a one-night stand, but never for the one to meet your mother. Why, God? Why me? Why do those adjectives fill my space? Why do I have to be the fat girl, but you have a pretty face? Why couldn't I have been the debutante with the long flowing hair and the hourglass figure? The one that all the guys woo and pine after. Then God reminded me that I was smart, successful, energetic, and full of life. So deal with your life and look for new adjectives. What is an adjective? A word that describes a noun. I am that noun. Caring, funny, successful, radiant, exciting, exuberant, beautiful, graceful, and loving. That's what adjectives is. And you have to start to look at that in your life. Because when you realize that you are a very important person, and this is what I stress with young people, because I know you probably are working with them, doing different programs with them, but when you start to tell them that they are important, that they can do certain things, then you just don't even know what could happen, what could change in their lives. Now, I know y'all heard me say, I teach high school. Y'all pray my strength because I'm trying to get out the classroom, yes. Yes, amen, I love that one. Let's touch and agree, touch and agree. But I teach 11th and 12th grade. And I had an incident just this week that almost put me in tears. I had a young man, because I'm an English teacher. So when you come to English, I expect you to read and write. What a concept. Reading, English, reading, writing kind of goes together, right? So he typed in a paper and I was like, what is this? I said, you're in the 12th grade. What is this? I said, let me answer this question. First of all, let me ask another question. Have you ever written a paper by yourself? Do you know he looked at me because I called him out on something? And he actually told me no. How are you in the 12th grade and you've never written a paper? I said, this is what you're gonna do. I'm not getting ready to tell you how, I'm not giving you a sample paper because that drives me crazy. That word, well, you should model for them what you want. No, they're copying everything that I'm doing. They're not thinking. So I said, I'm gonna tell you, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and I want you to do this. He went back and he did it. So then he turned it in and I said, much better, I'm liking where you're going. And I gave him a high five. Do you know he turned around and said to me, Miss Franklin, thank you for giving me a high five. I was like, wow. Nobody's ever encouraged you and told you that you could write the paper, that you could do something, because they're looking at the outer appearance. They're looking at your adjectives. This is one of my Caucasian boys that come in like, yo. I was like, who is yo? But I'm like, okay. Nobody's told you that you can actually write the paper. I have never seen this child walk around with his chest hanging out like this. I was like, did that high five do that? Then I had another one. I gave him a fist bump in the middle of class, and it was like, the light came on. I was like, what is this? So now it's like I had to start to change me, because I'm not really that nurturer kind of person. It's like, I'm not the touchy-feely, I'm not gonna hug on you and all that stuff. Like, because that's why I can't teach them little bitty ones. Because they touchy-feely, snotty, they tell all the parents' business. And I don't wanna know that. Because then when I do meet the parent, I'm thinking about, I know who came to your house the other night. I don't want to do that. So I teach high school because it's different. And so teaching them, now it's like I got to change who I am. I got to start thinking about what adjectives am I going to use to describe me today? What adjectives am I going to use to be able to change who I am, to be able to deal with them? So now I got one young lady. She come in, she got on a hat, she got a hoodie on. She almost looked like a boy. I wasn't really sure. I'm sorry if some of y'all have, but I really have issues sometimes at school because I can't really tell sometimes. But it's like, what if I had judged her just on how she looked because of my beliefs? What if I had just said she could never be anything because, oh, she doesn't look like someone that I need to be seen with because of who I am and who I'm trying to represent and what I'm doing? No. Do you know what? Now, before class, our new routine is that we both stand in the hallway and talk about people. I'm so serious. I'm so serious. We both, like, I'll say something like, wow, what they got on? She be like, man, I know, Miss Franklin, I don't know either. But guess what? Now, because I showed her love in a way that she wasn't expecting and that I accept her for who she is, now this girl produces everything in my class. And that's what you have to do with kids. You can't judge them by what they look. Because most of us, y'all, we're going through this time where we really don't know what's going on. And we got to be more liberal in our thoughts. And I just told you, I'm a minister. I serve at my church. I serve at my school. I serve in my community. And I'm liberal. What a concept. Because the main thing in trying to get those children is not necessarily your liberality, but the love that you show to them. Because if you show them love in a way that's different than what they're perceiving, because if somebody's only told them you're dumb, you're stupid, you don't fit in, you can't do this, you can't do that, then what do they have in their minds? Like the other slide said, it's easier to change a child than it is to change an adult. Because adults, we're stuck in our ways. Adults, you already got the baggage. And sometimes we know we all going to enter into relationships, into situations with baggage. But do you want to be a duffel bag full of baggage? Or do you want to be the little small, cute, compact bag of baggage? What do you want to be? The one that's got to go through checkout? Or do you want to be the carry-on? I would rather be the carry-on because that means I got my baggage under control. And I got everything folded neatly where it's supposed to be in its own compartment. And that's what you need to start looking at. And when we're dealing with other people, because in education, that's what I'm realizing, that I had to start folding things neatly into a package and being able to reach them where they are. Because, y'all, classroom is so funny. One more story and then I'm gonna move on to my next thing. I had somebody come into my classroom to observe me. One of the principals said, well, they might act like this because you have too much fun with them. You make them laugh and they don't know when to switch over. No, they're talking because they won't shut up, not because I switch over and may tell a joke or something, which I don't think is funny because I don't think I'm funny. But then they were like, you also got one of them that I've never seen do any work in another class. So how did you do that? I was like, huh? I said, I did it because I told him to work. How about if you don't tell a child what to do, and if you don't share with a child what they can do, they never know they can do it. That's just like when you touching the stove. If I touch the stove and you never told me not to because it was hot, how would I know? How would I know? So you have to start to think about those adjectives that you're using with the children, with adults as well, so you will be able to move on. Any questions so far? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I have copies in the lobby on my table. They are 15. They actually have a journal as well that goes with them. Yes, and it's a workbook. Yes, ma'am. Baby, I try. That would be hilarious. Y'all trying to get me go. Y'all trying to make me go down for having too much going on. Cause yeah, that's interesting. I'll think about that. Yeah. Oh, I can edit. Yes. Yes. Huh? Oh, because honey, let me Skype a class? That would be hilarious. Because I better look here. Y'all better, first of all, before I hit play, I better look here. Let's have this conversation. Because this when I go into mama mode, y'all better not embarrass me, all these folks coming up in my room. You better be on your P's and Q's and act like you reading right. You better not pull that dumb stuff today that y'all be pulling on me. Good? Be clear? All right. Other thing. Oh, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh! I changed the cover because the person that saw it initially, really went off on me. Who gonna buy that book with that black face on it? That's exactly what I was told. You're not gonna be able to cross over with that black face on that book. So you'll never sell a copy. But what he didn't know, I'd already sold about 100 copies with that black face on it. So somebody white got that black face sitting on their shelf. I'm just saying. That was part of the reason that I changed it. The other part was, a lot of people didn't get the title because I called it adjectives. Somebody's like, well, is it an English book? Or what we gonna do with this book? But then I was like, depending on what audience I had, determine who got it. People that could think past go and think outside the box, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. So I went back to what I really wanted on the cover. I never wanted my picture on the cover to begin with. That was something that one of my friends said. I had seen everybody else's. Everybody else that was coming out with a book had their picture on it. So I said, I put mine on it. I don't even like photo shoots. I'm the worst at photo shoots. So I changed it to this because I took it from the poem. And so then people could see what adjectives really meant. So when they saw all those words, people were like, what does it mean? I said, how about you open it up and read the first page? It'll tell you. How about that? So that's why the cover changed. It was twofold. Anybody else? I like it, y'all interactive. Come on, more questions? Yes, ma'am.
How do you forgive the people that verbally abuse you?
What I did, honestly, because it came from family members, I did one of those old school techniques. I wrote it down on a letter and I burnt it. And I said, this is how I'm going to forgive you. Because some people, you can't say certain things to them, and let's just be real honest and clear. It's some people you can't go to them and say, hey, you hurt me. You just have to stay out of that situation. So I wrote the letter, I prayed over it, and I just literally burnt it, and I said, you know what, I forgive you, and now it's in the atmosphere, and we're done with it. Because I can forgive you and still not be with you, if that makes sense. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. I actually live here in Baltimore, but I'm originally from Houston, Texas, so that's why you still hear that accent. You trying to figure out, she don't sound like she's from here.
No,
yeah.
No, that's not.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm getting your experience with adjectives.
Mm-hmm.
My mother called me a heifer.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I didn't know what a heifer was.
Yeah.
So I looked it up.
Right.
Cow?
You called me a baby cow. No, a female cow.
Mm-hmm. It's not that big. It wasn't on positive. And
Right.
I'm still living with her, and her adjectives are always negative.
And you know what? And that's why I said you stole something, because the person that really hurt me the most, that would never know that they hurt me the most, but I said it around the way kind of situation, was my mother. Because she raised me for what she thought was right. She thought telling me that nobody will ever marry you because you're fat, that I would go ahead and go on the diet and lose the weight, but really and truly it took me more to my Oreos.
Absolutely.
It took me more to watching TV every day. It took me more to being sedimentary. It took me more to sleeping around with whomever. It didn't matter. You guys, I got some attention? You really want to do that with me? You don't mind the way I look with my clothes on? Shut your face. Let's be real. Come on, ladies. Y'all know it. I know the men ain't here, but let's be real. Let's be real, honest, and clear, and transparent. That's why I did take that tumble. Yeah. And that's why I said there are certain things that I could never reveal For real, until some people are dead and gone. Dead and gone. Yeah. Because I don't want to deal with that trauma now. Because mentally and physically, I'm at a different place. And I've moved on, and I know that I've grown. And it's a wonderful feeling when you know that you have grown and you have transitioned to somebody that you actually like in the mirror. That you actually like when you walk outside the door. Regardless if your feet hurt or not, you actually like that person. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a counselor for many, many years, and I work with young people, and they're wounded by their families most often. And what I tell them is you can't choose the people that the families we were born into or adopted into whatever situation. And they did the best they could with what they had. And just allowing them to leave that there, because it's just hurtful. Back to them, it doesn't change what they did.
Exactly.
And then helping them to go forward and grow on their own. And it's been very healing for a lot of the young people that I work with.
And you know, another thing to piggyback on what you said is that to be honest with them, because that's real talk. And one of my girls came to me with a similar situation, and I said, well, I'm getting ready to say something to you that's probably going to blow your mind, because I don't really know how to coddle really well. I don't know how to sugarcoat. And I'm going to tell y'all what I told somebody in a parent-teacher conference, because I just really didn't know how to sugarcoat the situation. But I told her, I said, what are your plans to change the situation that you're in? I said, you're looking at colleges. Why are you looking at local colleges? That's how I boost the college rate for my kids that are having problems at home. I said, go to college, live on campus, and go find, and that way you can go have a different experience. True enough, your parents are there, but now you're getting ready to develop yourself in a way that you don't have to hear those negative things constantly over and over and over again. And so many times parents want to hold on to their kids and keep them close by. No, let them babies go. Let them go. Because now, y'all have no excuse now because you got social media, I'm just sorry. And you can video chat, and you can spy on them without spying on them. You know how to put them things in their phones. Come on now, and on their calls. Stop playing. So, that's what you know. It's different from when I tried to leave Texas and go to Howard, and my mama said, no, you're not. Number one, I was her firstborn, and she wouldn't let me out of sight. So I just went down the street. But that's what you have to start doing. Start to give them different opportunities and different things that they can do. Yes, ma'am.
So, to what she said, I grew up in a domestic violence, drug use, sexual abuse, all kind of stuff, and my mother would call me a bitch or whatever. She would physically attack me. And when people would tell me she did the best with what she had, like that statement stung to me because I felt like I was a child and I still was having to take ownership for what she was doing. My mother knew right from wrong because she would apologize for it. She was the adult, I was the child. So she knew better, but she just didn't do better. And my mother to this day will say, even if I'm wrong, I have a problem with somebody telling me I'm wrong. Like, she's very vocal in that way. So it's not that she was doing the best she could. She did what she wanted to do in those moments and then try to apologize for them later. So it would just sting to me when people would say somebody did the best they could, and then I would see her doing better. So I knew she could do better sometimes.
But sometimes...
And it just really, as a child, it may be therapeutic for some kids, but for this kid, it still made me feel like I had to excuse what was happening to me.
Right. And I have taken that statement further, and I've asked them, number one, do you look like your father? Number two, do you look like your mother? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes them doing something to you is them really lashing out at who you look like. Like my mother, it had middle child syndrome. I call it all the time, and I tell her to this day she got middle child syndrome. And my mama almost 70, and she can still have a temper tantrum. And I be like, girl, stop. But that's my mama, cause I just talked to her last night. She had told us because she turned 70 next year. She said, "Oh, y'all playing my party? What, ma'am?" She's like, she want a big party, but anyway, that's another thing. But when I seen her do some of the things to me that her mom did to her, and I knew that she had some issues with my grandmother. And sometimes, and that's why they say that abuse is cyclical.
That wasn't the case for me either.
It wasn't the case.
My
Well, you know
grandmother-
what? Your mama was just off then.
No, and to this day, she'll sometimes talk, okay, and it's really weird. I think the way, I was just very different.
Oh, the different child catches it too.
And I was the oldest, and even now, like, it's more like I'm the mother and she's the child now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been that way.
No, I'm literally right here with you.
But, and and she says, she feels like I'm the only one of her kids that loves her, and she knows she treated me pretty horribly. And she knows that I'll be there for her.
But sometimes we hurt people because we're hurt.
Yeah, and the way I live, like, kind of convicts her.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. I can't describe it all right now, but my grandmother was almost like Mother Teresa. I just, so she didn't have that
But see, the thing
experience.
is
So
that-
it wasn't a cycle.
Right.
But I definitely broke that curse with my daughter.
Good
And
stuff.
I just don't know what to say to the kids that are going through some of that. I still don't know what to say to them, but I refuse to say that for the way I felt. But maybe I should say that to some of them because I'm hearing you say it's therapeutic.
Because that's helpful for me.
No, I'm just saying, maybe I could use that because I didn't even think I could use it because of how it made me feel. But hearing you say that it's helped kids.
But the thing is, you have to frame that statement that works for you, and then you got to look at that whole child. Because sometimes I got a kid that when you find out that they bouncing between mama and daddy's house, then grandmama got a word in there, and they got all these different things coming at them, you got to figure out how to reach them where they are. Like, say for instance, like me and my new homegirl that stand outside the door. They talk about people. I had to figure out how to, I'm serious, because I'll walk out and say, you in my spot, and she have to move over. So that, you got to figure out how to reach them, especially if they're going through that cycle of verbal abuse and physical abuse. You got to figure out where is it coming from. And then sometimes it could be, women are competitive. I don't care what age they are. And sometimes I can see that even with our mothers that are supposed to be strong, and then they have firstborns that turn out to be stronger than them. Amen. So when that happens, they see it in you. Just like you hear this all the time. People see the greatness on you before you see the greatness on yourself. So sometimes they can see something in you that's so different that they're lashing out on it because, number one, it's different. Number two, they want to, it's so different that they don't recognize it, so they think that they need to change it. And when somebody thinks that they need to change something about you, but when in all actuality it's your uniqueness, then sometimes we don't know how to pull off of that. And that's where we have to start looking at that. And that's what I'm saying, when you are dealing with kids, especially at that certain age, like again, I'm high school, so it's a little different. I can give them that little out. I have older kids, so I give them that new ray of sunshine. I'm going to college, because that was my out.
Me too.
That was my out. And my out was going to college. It wasn't that I wanted a degree. Heck, I didn't even know what I wanted to major in. I just knew I was going. And I didn't have to take gym no more. What? Yes, ma'am.
I also consider the time of which I was a child and how people, society, our community handled children at the time.
Exactly.
Because if you were a child of the late 50s, 60s,
It was do as I say, not as I do.
And they were uninformed. They didn't know.
Right.
That what they were saying to us then, that whole sticks and stones will break my bones.
That's a lie.
Will never hurt me. We're just coming to the realization that that was a piece of crap. So understanding that they didn't understand what could happen with their actions, that allows me to forgive.
Exactly. And then taking that a step further, my mother never went to an integrated school. So, and then you move your child to this new neighborhood where she's the only black child in her 3rd grade class. So not only now am I having to deal with, for lack of a better statement, 2 worlds. I got my school world and I got my home world. Because mama telling me one thing and I'm learning something else. and she's kind of intimidated by the education that I'm having. And then when some more people started to move into the neighborhood, they had degrees, she didn't have a degree. Y'all, I didn't know that that was an issue with her until I was good and grown. Because I kept wondering, like, Mama, why won't you go with me when I go to these places? Why don't you do this stuff? She said, those people got degrees and I don't. And then I used to, and at first, then I started becoming ashamed of my parents. Like, I'm going to school with all these doctors and lawyers and oil people, because Texas is oil, Houston is where most of the oil places were. They work for Exxon and Mobil and all these places, and most of my friends are driving Mercedes and BMWs to school. Now, mind you, this is the late 80s. And when I finally did get a car, I had a 1979 yellow Toyota Corolla, and you couldn't tell me nothing, honey, because I was rolling. You hear what I say? Amen, honey. But then my daddy was a truck driver. I was like, what is going on? How do they have me living in a place that don't match my household? But them not even realizing what they did, they really broadened our horizons on what to expect in life. But then they didn't even know that I had to get over the shame of who my parents were. But then it clicked to me. If my daddy didn't do his job, then your daddy couldn't do your job, because at that point my daddy was driving a steel truck that was building the building that your daddy had to work in. So needless to say, that means we all got a place in the world, even though we different. And when I got that, baby, you couldn't tell me nothing. I told everybody, yeah, my daddy's a truck driver, now what? Got something to say? And my brother used to like it for my daddy to drive the truck, the 18-wheeler. Now I'm telling y'all, my daddy would drive the truck anyway, to school for his football practices. You would hear this coming down the street. Oh, and I ain't taking a step further. My parents are from the country. So that means even with my daddy's pickup truck, it had them pipes on the back, so when you hit the gas, it's like, vroom, vroom, vroom. So yeah, we enjoyed that. We ain't know that was crazy. But we knew daddy was coming. But again, I'm still an anomaly because I'm my age and my parents were married for 41 years before my dad passed. I'm an anomaly. So what do I have in common with these inner city kids that I'm teaching? Or should I say my urban kids that I'm teaching? You want to know what I have in common? I can tell the truth. Because every day I came home, the lights weren't on. Every day I came home, the water might not have been on. But I still went to school. I still had my homework done. Regardless if I had to do it by candlelight or daddy had to come home and turn the water on illegally so we could take a bath and not be dirty. Let's be real. And that's how we reach our kids, is if we tell them the truth. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So between these two, I always tell people you can pick your nose and you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your kinfolk.
I wish we could, though.
Yes, we all do. But we can't, and sometimes we can't even pick our kinfolks who they marry.
Oh my God, no.
So, but I was the child that I was told, the sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And because I was bullied a lot as a child,
Mm-hmm.
so I had guidance counselors stand me in front of a mirror and tell me how beautiful I was and how smart I was and how strong I was. So that was very cool.
And you know what? And that's where those affirmations come from. You have, and then I had to do that as well. Even as an adult, y'all, put them stickies on your mirror so you see that in the morning. Because the Bible clearly says, too, write the vision, make it plain. You got to have a vision for yourself, not just for your business, not just for everybody else, but you got to tell yourself in the morning, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, and I'm going to conquer this day. And it's okay to say that, and it's okay to put it on your mirror. And it's okay for other folks to see it, because then they know they can't mess with you because you pushing something in yourself early in the morning. Yes, you getting up early and putting that in your spirit early in the morning, because if you walk out the house with your mind changed and with something in you that's going to sustain you, then guess what? You're going to be that person But if you're walking out the house every morning telling yourself, oh, today gonna be a bad day. These children gonna get on my nerves. Oh, somebody gonna cut me off on the freeway and I'm gonna have to give them the finger and pray later. Something gonna happen. And it's gonna happen. Because it's all about what your expectations are. If you come in with a positive expectation, then when something does go cray-cray, oh, you say, whatever, something, they're just whatever. Let me keep on going. And so that's where we have to start living in the realm of positive expectations. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
And mine was on the flip side. You know, I grew up where I was small as I was raised in the inner city, Baltimore City, with water and everything.
You a hood girl.
Good girl.
Hey! BMO.
Now I'm in a Baptist, so it was really a different transition. But you know, where everybody was sent, because I used my intelligence as a master to take everybody California GP test, you know, so people would tease me because of my complexion. So, you know, and now it's to the point where, you know, I went to take the state test, and you know, everybody was like, oh, you're so smart, you ain't got to study. I hate for somebody to tell me that I'm smart, because nobody ever asked me, are you struggling with this? Do you need help with it? They just automatically think I'm an ace it, which put me on a bar where if I can remember I got a C in one of my classes.
And you lost your mind, didn't you? Yeah. I remember my first D, and I cried like a baby. But they got me out their class, though, because I knew then that was not for me. But yeah, I think my time is up. My time up. Because everybody coming in the good door. You know, the po-po came to the dodo. Yeah, they knocking at the dodo. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to share something between this woman in the back and right here.
Yes, ma'am.
About the comment of they're doing the best they can. As my father was very cruel to me, my mother would always say, Tammy, but you haven't got it as bad as he did. You need to, you know, that type of thing. And it wasn't in my mind, there is no excuse for it.
Exactly.
There's a way I'm sharing with you, but it's an opportunity for us to understand where it came from. And my learning in all of my life was just like you. He did better than he had, and I'm going to do damn better than he is. So
Exactly.
It's about understanding where it came from, so you can cope with that. I think, you know, in my situation, anyways. So you better understand it, and then you recognize that every generation needs to be better than the one before.
Amen, sister.
It's not his fault, it's his
Exactly. And that's a major thing.
background.
That's major. Y'all feel like we did some healing. We had some open moments, y'all. What's up? But I got one more slide and then I'm done. See, I got to take my 2 minutes back. My new book that is going to be released that you can pre-order today is called 21 Minutes of Prayer, Meditation, and what did I call it? 21 Minutes, 21 Days of Prayer and Meditation. That's what I called it.